posts, and of course you can read his stuff at 973ESPN.com. And as he writes over there that the Flyers trying to get a little spark from Jake Voracek, who, boy, has really gotten off to a slow start. Just one goal in the first 30 games. And I guess, Dave, he's willing to try anything at this point. Is the move from right to left going to be the kickstart that Voracek needs?
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see. Mike, I feel like I haven't talked to you since the last time Jake did score a goal. But, they'll try him out on the other side of the ice to see if things work any better over there. I think a little bit of it has to do with, from an X's and O's standpoint, how the Flyers enter the offensive zone and whether he's on his forehand or his backhand. This way, it might force him to shoot off the rush a little bit, and forcing a guy to shoot is a good way to get him to score goals. So we'll see if that does the trick for him.
Well, why was he so successful last year playing with Claude, and now this year he has struggled no matter where they put him? Is it just the way the puck has bounced differently? Because it just seems bizarre that here's a guy who was, one of the elite scorers in the league last year, and now seems like he's completely lost it. It's like a guy who used to be a 90% free throw shooter and then all of a sudden got the yips.
Yeah, well, it's a little bit different in Voracek's case because he's never been a real goal scorer. Even last year, he put the puck in the net with a little bit more regularity, but he's always been a playmaker. That's how he's gotten the majority at this point. And he's still tied for second in the team in scoring. So, whether that's an indictment on the rest of the Flyers roster or just that this is really like a one-way thing, that it's just his goal scoring and not his, assist and playmaking ability, I don't have a clear answer to that. But I don't think he's playing terribly. Why hasn't it worked on the right side of the Claude this year? I'm not really sure. I mean, Dave Haxtell did come in here with a new system. There are a little bit of differences with the way that wingers play in this system. But once the Flyers get in the offensive zone, it just hasn't gone the right way for him. There's been a couple of times here where he's rang one off the post, and you're going, how possible he didn't score there? And he's been keeping note of them very meticulously. So, obviously he's chomping at the bit here if it works out for him on the right side.
Yeah, Dave, obviously the offensive struggles go far beyond him. So is this just a move, one of those things coaches do to try to ignite the entire team? Because obviously things have to improve from that aspect for the Flyers to get back in the conversation here.
Right, and that's the way that Dave Haxtell puts it, but don't believe that, because this is absolutely a move to get Jake Voracek going. Because the line with Matt Reed, Sean Couturier, and Wayne Simmons was probably the Flyers' best line for the better part of a month. And they take Matt Reed off, put him on the fourth line to get Voracek in there. There's no way you break up what's been probably your best line, and certainly has been from a puck possession standpoint for a while, from a statistical standpoint as well in terms of tangible goal scoring. This is absolutely just to get Jake Voracek going.
And do you think that upside is a positive development if he does get going? Is that line going to be better than Couturier, Simmons, and Reed were?
It's certainly possible. I mean, having Jake Voracek score goals would probably make a lot of people on the Flyers lineup have a little bit more jump. Look, at some point this season, he's going to go back to the right wing alongside Claude Giroux. It would be stupid not to put him back there at some point. I think the Flyers are just trying to get the ball rolling a little bit, and then maybe once he gets even lukewarm, because he's ice cold to this point, maybe they reunite that duo and see what happens then.
Couple more for Dave Isaac, Dave G. Isaac on Twitter. Michael Neuvert will make his third straight start tonight. I know what Haxtell said, but are his actions stating differently?
Well, Steve Mason is the number one goaltender is what you're referring to. Michael Neuvert's going to be starting his third in a row. He came in and cleaned up when Mason didn't play so hot the other night and hasn't given up the crease since. I think this is one of the cases where getting fire, and I understand that in the NHL you really need a starting goaltender to go 80% of the minutes for a team. But when a guy's playing as well, it's really to sit Michael Neuvert. And if you look at the course of his career, he's been a streaky guy where, yes, I mean, the most Michael Neuber thing that could happen would be for him to throw a shutout tonight, go out the next game and get hurt. Because every time this guy gets hot, he gets hurt. It's just, that's how it's been over the course of his career. Him signing here, Flyers to be Mason's backup, was supposed to be the realization that he's going to be the number one goaltender in the NHL. And he's a very good 1A. And we'll see if he can continue. That maybe we there is a conversation about Steve Mason, but Michael Neuber's been a streaky guy, and I think he's just in the midst of a streak right now.
Dave, give us your thoughts on, and you wrote about this last week, how this Gaspé thing is going to shake out. He's 22, 5 goals, 9 points in the 14 games. I mean, he's been just a huge breath of fresh air and a jolt to their power play and overall scoring. How are they going to handle this situation once his time is up here?
It'll be interesting to see, because Mark Streit is targeting that post-Christmas road trip as his return. And Streit is the key there because he's on long-term injured reserve. His money is off the books, and that money being off the books is what allows Shane Gostisbehere to be here right now. But the Flyers couldn't have been playing any worse when Shane Gostisbehere was recalled, and he really breathed life into that offense. He's, I think, third among defensemen in scoring, but he's done it in half the amount of time that everybody else has done it. There is no way that the Flyers can afford to send this kid back. He's coming from the college, different trajectory into the NHL, but he's the same age as Sean Couturier. And it feels like Couturier has been around for quite a while, right? But they're both 22 years old.
Yeah.
I think Couturier just turned 23, last week. But, these are two players that are virtually the same age. And you see the way that Gostisbehere can play offensively, the way that he's bringing the puck out of the zone for the Flyers, skating circles around everybody else. They can afford to keep him monetarily, but they also can't afford to let him go back to the minors just because of the way he's played. They're going to have to figure out a way to do that. Whether putting Scott Lawton down in the minors or making a trade, I don't know, but the Flyers are going to have to figure something out in the next 2 weeks.
All right, Dave Isaac tonight, the Flyers and the Carolina Hurricane. You can listen to the game right here on 97.3 ESPN, and, of course, at Dave G. Isaac for Flyers Hurricane tonight. Thanks, Dave.
Thanks for having me.
Good to catch up with Dave.